Hey guys, welcome back to Money and Life TV. My name is Mike. This is my sidekick Chipper.
I read you.
I know many of the subscribers and viewers of this channel are in college or are about to attend college. So my goal today is to help you understand when you have to pay tax and when you don't on your scholarship and grant money. And that's the goal for this video. If you guys enjoy the video and get something out of it, don't forget to hit that like button. Now let's get started. All right, guys, this is a really cool topic, and a lot of people get scholarships. And first of all, I just want to talk about scholarships and grants and say if you were able to get one, congratulations. That is fantastic news for you, my friend, because that is less money that has to come out of your pocket to get a higher education. Less money that has to go towards student loans, so less debt for you. So congrats on getting those scholarships. And really, it's if you can get scholarships, ladies and gentlemen, it is by far the best way to pay for school, in my opinion. It is one of the best ways. Much more effective than working to pay for school, if you don't have to. I worked my way through school, but if you can get scholarships, like I said, that is your golden ticket. So let's talk about scholarships and grants. Now, I thought I should sit down for this one because I have some visuals on screen I want to show you. And just so you know, the visual you're looking at right now on screen is publication 970. Now, this is like the Bible for education tax deductions. So make sure to check it out. All of the information from this video is coming from here. So make sure to read more about scholarships. And scholarships are all in just chapter 1 of this publication. And I'm going to leave a link down in the description section below this video so you can go check this out for yourself. Just in case there's a question I missed or I didn't cover. I mean, I'm going to try to cover some of this, guys. Obviously, there's a lot of information on scholarships. So feel free to ask questions or leave comments down below as you watch this video. If you're uncertain of what a scholarship or a fellowship grant is, it's basically a scholarship is generally an amount paid or allowed to or for the benefit of a student, whether an undergraduate or graduate, at an educational institution to aid in the pursuit of his or her studies. So that's basically what scholarship is. So now let's take a look on screen of a table I made in Excel that I feel breaks out the main differences between taxable scholarships and non-taxable scholarships. The truth is that you might get a scholarship that is partially tax-free and part of it is not tax-free. So it just depends on what expenses you use it for. So let's look at that right now. So let's start with taxable scholarships. I think that's a good place to start. Everything that's taxable is on the left-hand side. A grant or scholarship is taxable when money is received, but student is not pursuing a degree. So you apply for the scholarship, you write this awesome paper, or somehow you come into this money, but you're not a student. Well, then all of that is like income to you, and you have to report it on your tax return as wages. The next area when it's not tax-free is for when grants relate to payment for services. So a lot of times, a person, in order to get the scholarship or grant, they have to do something at the university. They have to work as a teacher at that university, or they assist in research at that university, or it could be a variety of other things too. But if you are getting money from grants and scholarships for that specific purpose, the portion that is for services, the part you got for actually doing work as a teacher or doing research, for example, that is going to be taxable. And what they're going to do is, if they're doing it correctly, is they're going to send you a W-2 to report that amount of income on your tax return. Just to specify, the amount of money you got paid for services will be on that W-2. Okay, the next area when it's taxable is amounts used for anything other than tuition, fees, and other qualified education expenses. So all of us probably know somebody who came into a lot of scholarship money or grant money, and what did they buy? They went and bought a car with it. They didn't spend it on school or higher education, qualified higher education expenses. No, they went out and bought stuff. Money that they received on that scholarship, since they did not use it for educational purposes, it's going to be all taxable income to them. And of course, any amount of scholarship or grant money that you receive that exceeds qualified education expenses, and this is, to my understanding, the year in which you receive the money. So if you have more scholarship money than education expenses, the amount that exceeds your education expenses, let's say you received $5,000 in scholarship money, but you only had $3,000 in education expenses, that means $2,000 of that is going to be taxable income to you. All right, let's look at some examples of when scholarship money will not be taxable to you. And that's, of course, a real obvious one, right? Is amounts when you use the money for tuition, fees, and other qualified education expenses. If you don't know what qualified education expenses are, I have a whole video on that. I'll link it up in the description section down below, so make sure to check it out. And then also, it's not taxable if reduced tuition received by a student for teaching or research activities that were not considered payment for services. So it's okay if you work at the school and get tuition reductions, as long as it's not payment, as long as it's not considered payment for services, you should be fine. It's also not taxable if the amounts received by degree candidates from National Health Service corporations or armed forces scholarship programs for tuition, fees, books, supplies, and equipment, even if it's for services. So if you're in the military, or if you meet one of these requirements where you're in the National Health Services Corp, even if that money you got for scholarships is from services, they say, hey, you still non-taxable to you because you served our country, and that's the best situation you can have in that scenario. All right, guys, I know it's not on here, but so let's say, now often scholarships come out and they're earmarked for certain things. It could be earmarked for your personal living expenses. So based on the terms of the scholarship you have may determine also if it's taxable or non-taxable. So sometimes people will get a scholarship that is strictly for room and board. Well, any amount, just so you guys know, any amount of scholarship money that you use for room and board is not tax deductible and will be included in your income, okay? So any scholarship money that you use for personal living expenses is gonna be taxable to you. Now, as I mentioned earlier in this video, is that it's more than likely that part of your money, scholarship money, is gonna be taxable and part of it's not. So in the publication, there's a worksheet that's gonna help you determine how much of your scholarship income is taxable versus how much is not taxable. And you'll just work your way through the worksheet to determine that, and keep this as a work paper. After you fill this out, keep this as a work paper for your tax documentation for that tax year. So you might be wondering, well, Mike, if I have taxable scholarship income, does that mean I have to file a tax return for myself? The answer is maybe. So if you don't work at all, some people work, but if you don't work at all and just have some taxable scholarship income, you might have to file a tax return on that. So I'm going to link up a publication for you to check out to determine the income filing requirements. And I can tell you that if somebody's claiming you as a dependent, then it's going to be right around $6,000. Anything above that is when you're going to have to file. So make sure you look at that publication. I link up down below, and check out the rules for filing your income tax returns just to make sure you're covered. If you work, let's say you work at a job, and then in addition to your job income, you get this extra taxable scholarship income, then more likely than not, I'm going to guess you're going to have to file, because it doesn't take a lot of income in order for you to have to be required to file a tax return. Now, generally, when you see tax documents on scholarships, it's going to come to you possibly in a couple different forms. In one instance, you might see the amount of scholarships you received on a 1098-T. That's one place you might see it. Another place you might see it is if you get a W-2, because if part of your scholarship money was from from services, then you're going to have a W-2 where you have to report that income on your tax return. So you'll see scholarship money there show up as well as wages. The other place you might see it, unfortunately, and this is not going to be your fault or issue, is because sometimes the organizations or companies issuing the tax documents for scholarships don't quite know or fully understand what they're doing. So if they issue you a 1099 miscellaneous form with scholarship income on it, that is incorrect. They're supposed to issue it on a W-2. However, there are going to be times when you get it on a 1099. So, and just to prove what I'm saying, the IRS has in their publication on 1099s, this is what they say about scholarships. This is for companies who need to file scholarships, or this is for companies who need to send out information on scholarships. So the rule says, do not use Form 1099 miscellaneous to report scholarship or fellowship grants. Scholarship or fellowship grants that are taxable to the recipient because they are paid for teaching, research, or other services as a condition for receiving the grant are considered wages and must be reported on Form W-2. Other taxable scholarship or fellowship payments to a degree or non-degree candidate do not have to be reported to the IRS on any form. So those are the general reporting rules. So you might, however, like I said, companies and organizations mess up and they send you a 1099 with that scholarship income on it. So if you get that, then just be aware of that. And the correct way to report it is on line 7 of your 1040. And I'm going to show you an example right here. Let me come down here. So I found an example online as you would show this as wages. This is the first page of the 1040, and this little code section right here, not a code section, but this basically refers to that of these wages, $9,000 or so of that is scholarship income in this example. So, and it says it right here. This part's in the publication, but if you file Form 1040, include the taxable amount in the total on line 7. If the taxable amount was not reported on Form W2, which is like a 1099, right? Because it's not on W2, also enter SCH in the taxable amount on the dotted line next to line 7. So that's how you are supposed to report your scholarship income. And you, like it says right here, make sure you enter the SCH if the scholarship income was not correctly reported to you on a W2. Now, you can also, another thing you can do, if you do get a 1099 from whatever company it is telling you that you have scholarship income, you can contact them and say, hey, this is incorrect. Scholarship income needs to be reported on Form W2. Please correct this and send me a correct tax form. So don't ever be afraid to do that. You feel free to contact them and you can do it that way. But if you want to file your return before the deadline, or if you don't want to extend it, then you can also report it here as well. But I'd probably start with trying to get them to correct it on their end, so there's no matching issues between the IRS database and what you're reporting on your tax return. All right, guys, that's a brief overview of scholarship income, when it's taxable, when it's not, how to report it on your tax return, and the different kind of forms and documents you might see that income reported on. So remember, in general, your scholarship money may be partially taxable, it might be not taxable at all, or it could be taxable in full. It all just depends on how you use the money, how you receive it, why you receive that money. Is it for services? Is it not for services? So those kind of things. Make sure to check out the publication on that, because there's a lot more detail in there, especially if I didn't cover something. If there's anything you feel like I missed, or if you still have questions, like I said, please drop your comments in the comment section down below. I'm more than happy to respond. And I also wanted to point out some links down here to some interesting articles about scholarship and taxation that I feel are worth a read. There's some pretty cool articles on this that kind of break it down. And I hope you guys found this video helpful. If you did, make sure you smash that like button. Share this video with a friend, especially somebody who's going to school right now, or who has parents who have kids in school. Share it with those parents, because those parents are hoping to get as many tax deductions as possible, and I'm sure they'll appreciate you sharing this information with them. Also, be sure to subscribe if you have not already, because every single week on this channel, we produce new videos that are going to help you improve your financial position, your career, and your life. And we do that by teaching you personal finances, investing, and taxes on a weekly basis. If you guys have any questions, like I said, just drop them down below. I just want to say thank you to all of you for taking time out of your day to watch this video. And until then, I love you guys. I hope you have a wonderful week. I hope this stuff made sense the way I presented this. And I will see you in the next video. Bye all. Live life uncaged.